Welcome back to Capitol Time, a statewide look at politics. I'm Tim Boyle. More than 75 days after the original deadline, legislators unveiled a $21.7 billion two-year spending plan today. It's more than 500 pages, and I'm sure our next guest has already read all 500 of them. All joking aside, Representative Jason Saine, a Republican from Lincoln County, heads up the Finance Committee and negotiated the tax and finance portion of the budget. It does raise DMV fees, but cuts corporate and personal income taxes. Overall, Republican leaders believe it is a tax cut for North Carolinians. Representative Saine joins us from the state legislature tonight with his take on the plan. Sir, thank you for some time. Good to see you.
Good evening. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So the DMV fees are going up. There's expansion of the sales tax base. You do cut the personal income tax in 2017. Is this a tax cut for all North Carolinians?
It is a tax cut, and I believe that all the folks that look at those things will determine. We do cut the personal income tax substantially, and that gives us capacity to catch up on some fees, the DMV fees that haven't been raised in over 10 years, and some of the other things. But it does deliver to the taxpayer a substantial tax cut.
Over the weekend, the governor expressed some concerns about potentially expanding the sales tax base and some other issues within the budget. Do you think this is a budget that he will sign?
Look, I think for the governor, he like everybody else had just portions of details with the budget, so he didn't have a full picture. And I think as he starts to do exactly what we did over the weekend, which is push through all of the many provisions and line items that we had to look through as we crafted the budget really over the last several months. I think he'll come to a place where he realizes that because of the substantial personal income tax cut, that expansion of the base is still doesn't infringe on the relief on tax policy that we've given for our citizens.
But leadership hasn't been assured by the governor yet that he will sign it?
Well, that's correct. As far as we're talking now, I know that he is looking through it, and again, as he should. I mean, he needs to give it a good look. It's not something that you flip through and breeze through very quickly. It's a big document, as a $22 billion budget would be, one would imagine. But I think once he gets a fuller picture of it, I hope and I think that he'll see it our way.
All right, I know this is not a fun topic within the Republican caucus, but the tax credits, the renewable energy projects, they sunset, which they were supposed to technically, but a lot of even Republicans wanted to move forward with these, what some are calling solar tax credits. Is this waving the flag and saying goodbye to the solar industry in North Carolina?
Well, you've got to remember that earlier in the session, we passed a law that looked at the bigger projects that were underway and gave that an extension already. So that was about $37 million in capacity. And extended that for 2 years. So some of the big projects that are already online or will soon be online did get an extension. This was the smaller portion that would have cost, a year extension would have cost about $10 million in the budget. It's just something that we couldn't get broad agreement on. It's something that I supported, but nevertheless, this is budget process is a game of give and take, and that's one of the things that didn't make it. So, again, there's been some substantial work already this session that we did get broad agreement on. So I think that's just a matter of capacity for people and what they wanted to vote for or not support. So that's where we ended up.
All right, so there is no sales tax redistribution, moving money from urban areas to the poor counties, the rural counties, which the House wanted. There is a new local tax revenue to support education, economic development. Where does that come from? What is that we see in this news release?
So as we look at the expansion of the base, a portion of that will go to different counties, and there's a formula based on the original distribution plan, but this really truly shows reinvestment in rural areas, gives them capacity. But the most important part for the House, which the House Finance Committee spent a number of weeks looking at the proposals as they were originally presented, and found a better way to do it. It still accomplishes, I think, what Senator Brown intended to do, and that is to help rural counties. And we thought that was something that was worthy and something we should support. We just weren't quite on board with the original plan. We worked with him, Representative Lewis, and other senators and representatives worked on the plan to make sure that we got something that would hold the larger counties, the urban areas, harmless, so that we didn't infringe upon their revenue stream and leave them in the lurch. So this is something that everybody wins and nobody loses, and that's real important.
So just to be clear, the new money that's going to come in from expanding the sales tax base to some services, that's the money that will be used for these poor.
That's correct. A portion of that money will go for that, and that will allow them to invest in economic development, also teacher supplements, things of that nature. They can't use it to offset their property tax rate. That's not the intent, but the intent is certainly to help them grow economically, and we're all interested in that, whether you're from an urban area, suburban area, or rural area. That's, you know, we are truly one North Carolina, and so that's the difficulty of governing, but it's also something that we were all both House and Senate folks who wanted to support those communities as well. We found a way to do that.
It's not losing for the urban counties, but could one not argue that they're missing out on some of these new funds and that it is being redistributed?
Well, one could argue that, and you could also look at this thing will sunset in 5 years, or at least we will look at it again in 5 years. I'm not sure if it's a sunset or legislatively we have to go back and review it, but it is something that we will continue to review. And I think that the House Finance chairs, Chairman Brawley, my counterpart, and the other House Finance chairs, we're going to monitor that very closely to see how it really truly does impact all areas of the state. See if it needs to be tweaked. I mean, these things are, nothing's ever final, of course, at the legislature. So we want to make sure that we get it right, and that again, we continue not to harm anyone and find ways for the state to grow. You know, we do this all the time with our budget. We fund things in different areas where there's needs and needs shift. And we want to make sure that we certainly have that kind of flexibility so that we can always grow our state as a whole and make sure that we're competitive.
All right, we got $30 million for film grants. There is some money from the historic grant program as well. What about JDIG, the huge fund that's brought in to lure jobs, economic incentives, as they're often referred to? Where are we on that? That's not in the budget, right? That's still being negotiated outside?
That's correct. It's negotiated outside, but it is in House Bill 117. We've looked at what the Senate. They've got some good ideas with the JDIG program, with their Super JDIG program, ways to match dollars and match, you know, and to help some of the most areas that need it the most. And so we found compromise there. We're very happy with what we have. We'll tweak the language per our agreements, but those things have been decided, and I think we'll move forward with those fairly quickly.
Real briefly, is it closer to what the governor wants, him and Secretary Scaval? I know they say that they are just grasping for this money.
They are, and look, it's something that's needed, but it was also something that really did through this process, and even though it seems like it's been a long time, and it has, but it is something that we've had the opportunity to discuss back and forth over the many months of knowing what's going to work and what's not going to work, and I think we owed that to the citizens of the state, and we found ways to be competitive, and you know, it's something that to be competitive, we needed to make sure we got it right, and I think we're very close, and so once we get this final language in 117, we'll get that out and ready for the governor to sign, and I think you'll be very happy with it.
All right, Representative Saine, I know you guys are swamped down there. Thank you so much for some time tonight.
Tim, thank you, and it's good talking to you.
Absolutely, you too. Time for one last break. When we return, a reporter roundtable convenes to tackle the newest budget plan as well. Stay with us.